He's just so corny, and that kills me. Like when it feels like a coach is not like authentic, it hurts me to my core.
I think I see where it's going with this one. Hey, been around the world and back, yeah, I did that. Still kick raps that cause impacts to where my kids at.
What's up, y'all? This is Drake with Catchin' Cash, and today we'll be breaking down the top 5 biggest preseason topics that we think going into the 2024 NFL season. I got my boy Brennan, and Brennan, what do you think are some of the top 5 topics going into the season?
The rookie quarterback class coming in. There's potentially 5 starters, depending on what happens with the Broncos and the Patriots. Mahomes and the Bills, their offenses. The Bills have had a lot of turnover this year. And then some of the new coaching changes, I think, are some of the big topics that affect this season and gives us a lot to talk about.
I agree. I also like the NFC East. It's always just a good topic to – I mean, we could talk about the NFC East for days, just the top of the NFC East with the Eagles and the Cowboys. But also, we're going to talk about it here shortly, but the Commanders could, I think, really make some noise. Maybe not make the playoffs, but to give at least the Eagles and Cowboys a hard game during the regular season.
Yeah, they could play spoiler for sure.
So let's hop right into it while we're talking about it. But let's talk about some first-round quarterbacks, and let's see what you think of the draft picks, their situations, and what they can do for their teams.
For sure, man. I mean, Caleb Williams is the obvious one, right? We've heard about him so much this offseason for the past few years. He's been one of the most hyped prospects. I think the Bears have all the tools to go ahead and win 11 and 12 games if they play up to their standard. I think we had talked about it a little bit, but the one wild card is kind of their coaching staff and seeing what Eberflus can do and how he handles having a team that's one of the most talented teams in the league. They had the best wide receiver core in the league.
Yeah. I also like, obviously they got Rome Odunze, but going into this first season, he might not even be asked to do that much. He's sitting behind Keenan Allen, not sitting. He's alongside Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. I mean, those are 2 great receivers. So to have Rome Odunze as your third best.
Yeah, he's the third best receiver, and he might be the 4th option even behind Kmet.
You brought up my biggest concern is just still the coaching. You can't fix bad coaching. When you a bad coach, you a bad coach.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Caleb Williams is coming into the best situation, but I'm still worried about the coaching staff. Next up, I'm going to bring up Jayden Daniels, hometown boy for us. We watched every game. I wasn't too high on him during the season, but as he settled in with the offense, with Malik Neighbors, with Brian Thomas, he really – I mean, it got good at the end of the season.
Yeah, he threw the ball well. I think that was everybody's kind of poke point at him was, yeah, he can run fast. That's cool. Can he throw the ball? And I think this year he threw the ball a lot better than what people were expecting, and he put his name in that same conversation with a Lamar Jackson type. They both are very fast, and they're very good in open space, but they throw the ball well. Especially Lamar, you've seen the past couple of years he's gotten even better. So I think as long as Jayden's coached up, and I think Cliff Kingsbury does a good job of at least working with quarterbacks, getting them coached up, I think he can show some improvements in the pass game too. It's always just a fact of can they protect him. I don't know. I don't think the Commanders can really protect him, but that's always the deal with rookie quarterbacks, right? Is if you can protect them, that you can allow them to kind of work through their mistakes as they go. But when they're constantly under pressure, it just puts a magnifying glass on everything.
Yeah, and you brought up something that I wanted to bring up about Cliff Kingsbury. I think that's a great hire for a rookie quarterback. We saw what he's done with Kyler Murray his rookie year. I mean, he won rookie of the year. I know Kyler Murray is really good. But still, I think Cliff Kingsbury is a great coach. Do I think Dan Quinn's a good coach? Not necessarily, but that's on the other side of the ball. Do I think he's a good defensive coach? Yes. But Kingsbury definitely will help Jayden Daniels in his transition into the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It'll help curtail the offense to Jaden's strengths. I think getting him comfortable is kind of the biggest deal. Is what makes you feel comfortable, Jaden. If you like running it, hey, let's run it a few times and get you settled into the game and get him in a good flow.
Well, we haven't even named any of their offensive weapons either. I mean, they're not bad.
No.
They got Austin Eckler, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, and they just drafted no, they didn't draft nobody, but they signed Zach Ertz. I know it's not – he's –
Logan Thomas was another big target. I mean, big targets in the red zone are huge for rookies, especially I mean, Daniels liked – I forget the guy's name at LSU, the tight end, but he liked him as a good target at LSU. Yeah. I think having a good tight end
is that not Taylor?
Yeah, Mason Taylor. There you go. I think having a good tight end is big for him.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into Drake May. What's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I initially thought he was probably going to be the best quarterback out of this draft, just because I wasn't high on Caleb Williams, and it was kind of exhausting hearing Caleb Williams' name in every conversation. I think he might be the worst now. I mean, I don't know. I just, as you kind of watch other people talk about him and watch film on him, he doesn't look great. He's kind of slow. His delivery is a lot slower than I would have thought. He's a big body. And then, you saw a few videos, I think, on Twitter last week circulating of Jaden Daniels making a little 5 to 7 yard out route throw. And then you watch Drake May make the same throw, and the ball had like half of the zip on it of what Jaden Daniels had. I don't know. I don't think the Patriots are really a good organization to go to right now as a young quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do with him. They were carried for so long by Tom Brady, who kind of covered up for a lot of the coaching staff's mistakes, I feel like, in the past. And then now that hasn't been there for, I don't know, 5 years now, it's kind of it's shined a bright light on how bad their offensive coaching staff was once McDaniels left, really.
It's hard to like, we're trying to only talk about Drake May here. But there's just a glaring weakness with the team itself that is so hard not to talk about, the lack of weapons that he has. So he can, no matter how good he is, I just don't see the offense helping him out.
Right, yeah. It's not necessarily an indictment on Drake May. It's more of you could really plug in any quarterback from this draft, and I don't know if they'd have success over there right away. I mean, especially the guys that were drafted below Drake May. You plug any one of those guys in, I don't think they do too well over there.
I think it was I just think that
they have a lot of holes.
He could be way better from a X's and O's standpoint that we're seeing. But I'm looking at his stats, and he only threw over 300 yards 4 times last year, and that just does not excite me. Coming from a 3 quarterback, can't even throw over 300 yards.
No, it feels real similar to Trubisky, but like with a better body and better athleticism, I guess.
Yeah.
He just didn't win a ton of games, and I think more teams are coming around to the fact of guys that really win in college are kind of the guys you want around because they've been around that winning culture from the schools like Alabama, the Georgias, the Ohio States, the Michigans, the teams that win. I think it's starting to show up. Like, I mean, you look at Jalen Hurts, and the dude, he never really lost a lot, and now he's having success in the NFL. I think they're starting to see that the winning culture translates a lot more than some of the physical attributes.
I agree. Okay, next, let's talk about Michael Penix. What a draft pick at the number 8 spot from the Falcons.
Yeah, this was crazy. It was crazy because I liked Penix, and now I have to hate him because he's on the Falcons. But I don't like the pick. I don't like it for Penix. I think he's a good quarterback. He's just older. And the Falcons are not a great organization. I mean, I don't know their history, but drafting this guy, I don't think the Falcons really have groomed a quarterback with the exception of like Matt Ryan from start to finish. And then him coming into the situations with Kirk Cousins, I don't think does him any favors.
Yeah, like they are in a win now situation with Kirk Cousins. So you can't expect Penix to play the next 2 years. So by the time he gets to play, he's going to be a 27-year-old.
Correct.
You never know what could happen.
And the win now is what is crazy because their defense is horrible. I mean, I don't even know. I think they beat the Saints once. I don't know if they beat the Buccaneers. Their defense was awful. And you're talking about a Derek Carr-led offense and a Baker Mayfield-led offense that you looked horrible against.
Yeah.
I mean, they needed somebody to get pressure on the quarterback, and they drafted a guy who couldn't get pressure on anyone.
I listened to Raheem Moore's interview, and he brought up about, and this could just be him backing the pick, because he might not liked it. So he might just be backing the front office. But he brought up that the GM's job is for looking at the present and also the future. So the Penix pick was he was there for the picking, and just looking more towards the future. Penix was the right place to go. I personally, like I've told you before, I do not like Michael Penix at all. I also do not like Bo Nix at all. And this is somewhat probably SEC bias.
Yeah.
But personal experience watching Bo Nix at Auburn, he was horrible. Every SEC team knew how bad he was.
Yeah, he was.
Then he goes to Oregon and he balls out. To me, the Pac-12 produces some very talented people because they produce a lot of athletic defensive guys and offensive linemen as well. But the defense is just never good in the Pac-12. In the same situation, you see Michael Penix. I know he went to Indiana, which isn't necessarily a powerhouse in the Big Ten, but he still didn't put up that great of numbers. Then he had those 2 horrible knee injuries.
Yeah.
Then he goes to Washington and balls out. I just don't see – I'm just not too big on the talent coming from the Pac-12, especially at the quarterback level. But the guy is good. It's just I don't know how good. I don't see the translation from the Pac-12, what he was in, to the NFL, and also how old he is with the knee injuries. I just can't see this being a good pick at all in the future.
No, I mean, you can say what you want about the GM looking for the future. The problem is if you get fired in 2 years, who cares?
Yep.
You could have made a pick that would have helped you win this year and the year after, and you'd have secured your job. I think Brandon Beane talked about that when they traded up for Josh Allen. What if you made a mistake trading all those picks for Josh Allen? And I think he just said it wouldn't have mattered because I'd have been fired. So it's kind of like I don't know. The Falcons are in a good spot to, I guess, really take a big step forward and take over the NFC South, because the Buccaneers were meh. The Saints were a little less than meh, and the Panthers suck.
Yeah.
So I think if you solidify your defense a little bit, you put yourself in a spot where you're going to win games with Kirk Cousins, but now you're kind of just like, okay, we're going to win games with Kirk Cousins, but we're going to have to score 30 and 40 points.
They have the offense to do it. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
So next up, J.J. McCarthy. He kind of ties into what you said about winning, though. He's a winning quarterback. He played on a very good team, didn't make many mistakes, but I don't see the upside.
Yeah,
I don't see the upside to him. So what are your thoughts?
You kind of hear about the physical stuff where he throws the ball well, he throws the ball hard. I mean, you just never got to see it in college. Is the problem? I don't have a problem with the pick. The issue I have is kind of the team that he was drafted to again as a whole. They had a really beat up O-line last year, and their running game is god awful, or it was god awful. Now whether they improve on it this year or not, I think JJ McCarthy goes as the rest of the offense goes. I think if you can complement him with a good run game, he's going to be a good enough quarterback to where he'll develop into something. But if you're going to sit here and ask him to throw the ball 25, 30 times a game, I'm not too sure that he's going to have much success.
Yeah.
At least early on. Kevin O'Connell can maybe coach him up, but I don't know how that translates. You go from throwing 10 passes in college to a game to throwing 25 to 30 in a league where you're playing you're playing Ohio State and Alabama every week, and you're playing teams that are better than that and faster. And he's in one of the toughest divisions in the NFC, if not the toughest this upcoming year.
It's just hard to look at the people on his team and not think he could be good. I mean,
yeah,
he has arguably one of the best receivers. And then he also has Jordan Addison as a number 2, who would be a number 1 on majority of teams with TJ Hawkinson. And they just signed Aaron Jones as well. So everything's there for him to be good. I think Kevin O'Connell is a great coach as well. So everything is there. I just don't see him being that good of a prospect. But people always say they draft on the upside. Nobody knows what his upside is. Nobody knows what his ceiling is. They just see him what he did at Michigan.
Oh, yeah. We'll see how good his upside is when Aiden Hutchinson's bearing down on him 2 times a year. I mean, you got to play them twice. You got to play Montez Sweat twice. It's, again, can you protect him? And then we'll see.
So, next we got the last but not least, Bo Nix.
The Broncos are horrible. They're horrible.
It had nothing to do with the team to me. I mean, I already talked about it about Penix. I just don't see the translation.
Yeah. They were doomed to win less than 4 games when they released those new jerseys. They're hard. They're the worst jerseys in the league. They're horrible.
Let's see. They have and they also got rid of Jerry Jeudy, and the receiving core is just not good.
No,
so
it's not good enough for a rookie.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you don't have I feel like you need a veteran guy, and Cortland Sutton is a veteran guy, but he's not. I don't think he's on the level of a Keenan Allen vet guy. I mean, talking about a guy who's Keenan Allen, 8 to 9 catches a game, a reliable target.
I'm just looking at unless
bad.
Sean Payton could work some magic, this is the same situation to me as the Patriots.
Yeah.
No matter how good Bo Nix can be, which never know, the offense itself will not be there to help him. And that's to say if he's even the starter.
Yeah.
They might like Josh Stidham for more experience. So he might not even be the day 1 starter. We don't even know.
I think he will be. It's more of like an ego thing for Peyton. We know Sean Payton. We're Saints fans. He's an ego guy. I think he starts Bo Nix. I mean, we've been seeing how much they like him in his workouts and how much they liked him in rookie minicamp and all that kind of stuff. So the problem is he may be able to be a good quarterback. He may be better than some of these guys that were drafted ahead of him, but we'll never know if you can't protect him and you can't give him good guys to throw the ball to.
All right. Next up, let's talk about the Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen offenses shakeups in this offseason.
The fun stuff.
Let's talk about Josh Allen and his Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, it was kind of worrisome this offseason when they lose Diggs, which fine. He's a good receiver. I feel like he's a horrible locker room guy. I've always felt I don't know. It gets to the point where he gets toxic, it feels like, and then you lose Gabe Davis, who's arguably his favorite target, even with Diggs on the team. But I think they did a good job of bringing in pieces. Now, you're not getting a Stephon Diggs, but they have Curtis Samuel. They added Mac Hollins, and then I love the Keon Coleman pick. It gives them a huge target, a downfield threat. And the reason I like them getting rid of Diggs and getting the guys they have the guys are good enough that they picked up, but they don't bring that ego with it to where you've got to imagine he's thinking at times in the game, like, I got to get the ball to Stephon. I got to get the ball to Stephon. I got to get the ball to him.
Yeah.
And that kind of forces him to try to extend plays or make plays that he wouldn't. I think now he's the guy, like Curtis Samuel's bowing down to him. Mac Hollins is like, nobody's going to go in there demanding Josh Allen to throw them the ball.
Yeah.
And I think he can play more open. And then don't forget, they still have Dalton Kincaid, who really hasn't. So he didn't do a ton last year, but he's a really big receiving threat.
He was a rookie last year, so he can only go up from what he did last year, and he was great. So I'm looking at this as more of like an NBA style offseason. A lot of NBA teams, just like the Mavericks, for example, they have Luka. So they're not going to get other superstars. They're going to get other guys to fit them, whether it's personality, whether it's off the field stuff. You know what I mean? They're going to get guys that could possibly help the Bills. And they still got a very good young guy in Khalil Shakir. He looked phenomenal at the end of last season. But like you said, Keon Coleman's a great pickup. Curtis Samuel is a slot receiver that is a great possession guy.
Yep.
Matt Collins will probably just be in there for blocking, but whenever your best weapon is a rushing quarterback, a blocking receiver can only help.
Well, and listen, they got the running game going when they promoted Joe Brady to offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
They
James
really
Cook went off at the end of last season.
they really got it moving. So I think they've kind of made over the back half of the year and the offseason, they've kind of made a more well-rounded offense rather than just a team of stars, I guess, which I think if anything, the Chiefs proved last year, your one or two stars can win you a Super Bowl. I mean, obviously Pat Mahomes is a little different, but I don't see Josh Allen being. I think Josh Allen's right behind Mahomes. So
yeah, I just don't see.
I think the culture fit's more important than
the Stephon Diggs loss. Like you said, though, at the end of last year, he just wasn't. He wasn't the same. So,
it doesn't feel like a very big loss.
Yeah, how much are you actually losing? But to me, the biggest losses are on the defensive side.
Yeah,
Micah Hyde, Jordan Poirier, whatever.
Yeah, they lost their whole secondary.
Mitch Morse. They lost 2 of the 10 captains, which is. But guess what? You still got Josh Allen, so there's no.
Yeah, I think most of that was just wanting to get younger, which is fine. I don't think youth hurts you on defense as much as it hurts you on offense.
I mean, they still got Ed Oliver. Still got very good guys on defense.
And I don't know enough about what they play on defense, but they seem to be okay. I think getting younger is better. I mean, you got to think they get rid of Tre'Davious White. Okay, fine. He hadn't played in 2 years. He's played like 4 games in the last 2 or 3 years.
And Poirier too.
Yeah. So I don't think that hurts him a ton to get younger and healthier on defense.
I agree. All right, now let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, this is dumb. They get the fastest guy in the draft. They get Hollywood Brown. I mean, you can say what you want. You can say what you want about the Dolphins, but I mean, this offense is. They may not be faster, but they're close. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, you drafted the fastest receiver ever coming into the draft. I think Worthy had the fastest 40 for any receiver.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, they filled their biggest need, which was having somebody who can catch the ball. The problem was they found somebody who could catch the ball last year, and then he went and drove his car 120 miles an hour on a freeway and flipped it. So you lost your best receiver, and then you got two more. I like both additions because you already have a big target in Travis Kelce, so you really don't need a huge guy on the outside. You can split Kelce out if you really need that. I mean, they got better. They won the Super Bowl last year and got better, which is, I
also have in my notes, Jared Wiley will be very interesting. He's a tight end, 4th round pick from TCU. He put up some good numbers at TCU. So getting a pretty good tight end coming in behind probably the best tight end ever.
Right.
I mean, you never know the athletic ability from these young guys to help.
Yeah.
On top of, like you said, Marquise Brown, I think that's a phenomenal pickup.
Yeah, that was
he's
huge.
A speed guy, but he's to me he's more well-rounded than just a speedster.
Oh yeah, he definitely is. And they work behind one of the best offensive lines in the game. They lost Nick Allegretti to free agency, but I mean, you bring back 4 of your starting 5. I think most teams would kill for that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to imagine they don't make another run at it. I don't know. They got better. They won the Super Bowl and they got better. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck to everyone in the AFC, and hopefully an NFC team can get lucky in one game.
So next up, let's talk about the funnest division, probably, the NFC East.
Yeah, I don't know why it's the funnest. I guess because it's Eagles-Cowboys, and everybody hates the Cowboys, but it's not the best division. It's just
The most entertaining.
The Eagles were coming off such a good year last year, and then the year before when they went to the Super Bowl, and then they just sucked it up the back half of the year. And then the Cowboys can't win in the playoffs, but they've had a quiet offseason. I think the Cowboys might take a big step back this year with all the stuff going on with Dak and his contract and whatnot. I think it's kind of getting covered up where I don't think they brought back a running back besides Zeke. So their current starting running back is Ezekiel Elliott, who's 30-something, 31, and he's a shell of his former self. I mean,
they got Deuce Vaughn.
That's awesome. Good for them.
To me, it feels like they're still in shock of this first round loss to the Packers. I feel like
they haven't done anything.
I feel like they're just walking on needles and nails and just scared to make a wrong move with Dak or CD. But I think I don't know what the number is, but if the Eagles is anything plus money to win the division, I will be all over that. I think that last year's second half debacle, that was I don't know what to think of it. It was just I feel like that was just Jalen Hurts hurt. I feel like he was hurt towards the end of the season. But they're so dominant, and then they got better this offseason. Look at they got 2 of the top 3 corners, and that was their worst thing last year.
Oh, yeah, they overhauled their defense. They added Fangio. They brought Big Fangio back. He was on their defensive staff when they went to the Super Bowl, I believe. They did the exact opposite of the Cowboys. They saw a glaring need on defense to really, I guess, revamp the whole defense, especially the secondary, and they took action and they went do it. I like their 2 picks, Mitchell and DeJean. I mean, it's young guys. They added Gardner Johnson again. They added Devin White with a big need at linebacker right there, and not only he's not just a linebacker, he's a fast linebacker. He plays downhill. He can go sideline to sideline. I mean, they've gotten exponentially better, and the Cowboys have kind of flatlined.
Dude, Howie Roseman probably is one of my favorite GMs.
Yeah.
Because when, like you brought up, when they see something that is in need,
they attack it.
The next year, they have it done.
Yeah, it is crazy. He's one of the best, if not the best.
And also, last year, think about it. They had a brand new OC and a brand new DC. I mean, there was a whole coaching carousel. The only thing that scares me, though, is this year they're going into the season with, again, a new OC and a DC. Yeah. But you have to assume it can't be worse than it was last year.
Right.
Because they obviously saw something they didn't like in the styles of those coaches.
Oh, yeah.
So they had to have gone get who they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, it showed how important Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon were to their staff that year they went to the Super Bowl, which I forget the head coach's name. It's just Sirianni. Yeah. Sirianni's that type of coach where he's
aggressive.
He's a Dan Quinn style, right? He's aggressive, but he doesn't. His coordinators have control over their offense or their defense, and he lets them do. He gives his input. He plays CEO of his football team essentially. I think that's a winning formula. So as long as he's there doing that and he's letting his coordinators do what they need to do, I don't see them going away. And then you look at the Cowboys again, and they're the complete opposite, where their owner's sitting there telling their coach what to do. It's just kind of like, I just don't like. To me, if you're the Cowboys, why not go get a really like a good young running back, like a Derrick Henry was on the market. I don't know why they didn't make a play for him. A Najee Harris, something. You got to give Dak. We say this every year. You got to take stuff off of Dak, and it seems like they never do.
No, yeah, they got no juice. Why they like?
If we're gonna win, Dak's gonna have to throw for 404 touchdowns.
Yeah,
I mean they haven't. And when they were good, when they went 13-3, they were the 1 or 2 seed in the playoffs. When Zeke and Dak were both young, it was because Ezekiel Elliott was the guy.
Yeah, he carried the load.
2,000 yards. And ever since that one season, it's like they haven't gotten back to that because they haven't had a a rusher that could do that.
Yep.
And then they tried to go the opposite direction last year with Pollard, with a quick guy who can catch it out the backfield, and he didn't score a touchdown, I don't think. Maybe one at the end of the season.
I think he scored one. He scored 2 the first game, and I think 2 the last game.
Yeah, they've gone in the opposite direction. It's crazy. And then, I guess to touch on the other two teams, the Giants, they're horrible. If we're speaking fantasy-wise, I like Neighbors. If Daniel Jones is the quarterback, I hate Neighbors. I don't know why. I don't know why they would take him if they don't like Daniel Jones. If Drew Lock ends up starting for this team and kind of locks on to Malik Neighbors, I think that sets up for a good, season for Neighbors and probably Drew Lock. But the Giants are drafting in the top 5 next year again.
Yep.
And we kind of talked about the Commanders already.
I don't have much to say about the Giants. They are the Giants
horrible
with Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
But the reason why I think this division will be fun, we already mentioned it. I think the Commanders can really make some noise, especially in the regular season. You never know what an explosive quarterback like Jayden Daniels can do with some weapons. And also their weakness will be their defense. Well, their head coach is a defensive coordinator and one of the better ones in the league. So you can't you have to assume that he would have a decent defense going into the season and probably give Cliff full reign of the offense and say, hey, we need Jayden Daniels to be good. Do what you can to do it. I also think that Dan Quinn is good enough overall as a head coach to help this team, and he has experience. So experience could definitely sneak a win against the Cowboys or the Eagles. I definitely think they split the Cowboys. Now splitting with the Eagles will be hard, but I think they will definitely make some moves throughout the regular season.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Commanders will give teams problems. Like I said, I think they'll play spoiler in this division a little bit.
Yep.
I think down the stretch, if it comes down to the Cowboys and Eagles, one of them's playing the Commanders. I think a loss to the Commanders, it ends up being what determines
the tiebreaker.
Yeah, who wins the division. So
next up, we got probably my favorite topic: new coaches in the NFL this season. I think there's 8 of them. We're only going to talk about 4 or 5, but who's probably your favorite new coach signee?
Harbaugh. I didn't like it at first. I just wasn't a huge Harbaugh guy. He's just so corny, and that kills me. Like when it feels like a coach is not like authentic, it hurts me to my core, and it feels like he's just the least authentic person in the league behind Russell Wilson. But I like it. He comes in now with Bill Belichick, obviously not being a head coach. He's got the best winning percentage of all the head coaches in the league. So you've got the most winning head coach in the league. And I think the style of play that he wants to bring is sustainable. You heard him say they look at offensive linemen as weapons, and I don't understand why more teams don't, because when you look at the teams that are successful, when the 49ers were getting their run, it started with Harbaugh. They had the best O-line in the league. Mm-hmm. Right when the Cowboys started to make their little run with Dak Prescott a few years in, they had one of the top offensive lines in the league. The Chiefs, they have the best quarterback in the league, but they also have one of the best O-lines in the league because Patrick Mahomes is only as good as his protection. You see that in Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. Yeah. And I think Harbaugh brings that in. Now, they lost a lot of weapons on offense, like real weapons, like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen kind of being gone.
Austin Eckler.
Eckler's gone. That's kind of the one hiccup that I see is you lost Austin Eckler and you want to be a run first team, but who are you running with?
Well, so I think the signings for the Chargers is all due to how Harbaugh wants to run the offense. They signed Gus Edwards, who probably is the biggest bruiser besides Derrick Henry in the whole league.
And they signed Dobbins. They essentially took the Ravens' backfield.
Yep, they got Dobbins and Edwards, and then they signed Joe Alt with their first-round pick. That just goes to show you what you were talking about of he wants to run the ball and he wants a good O-line.
Yeah, Yep. And I think Herbert's good enough to where if you ask him to throw the ball 10 times a game like he did McCarthy, he's probably going to go 10 for 10 for 200.
Yeah.
I think they added DJ Chark too, so that you got a speedster. You still got Josh Palmer, who's not a bad receiver. He's just not Keenan Allen. If Quentin Johnson fixes his hands, he's a good receiver. Just catch the ball. But there's not a whole. The only difference really between the Michigan offense that he ran and this Chargers offense is one, the quarterback's way better with the Chargers, and the second one is he had the best running back in football, maybe, or like a top 3 running back in football at Michigan. He doesn't really have that with Dobbins and Edwards, but I think they're serviceable. Will they get you, 200 yards a game? No, but they'll each go for 90, and that's 180.
Yep.
In the gross.
They're definitely going to be more of the bruiser style. I mean, they got on both sides of the offensive line, they're going to have Alt and Slater.
Right.
I mean, that's 2.
Yeah, they're loaded.
If Alt is as good as he is advertised, that's going to be 2 top 5 offensive linemen on the same team.
Yeah.
One thing I have down a quote that Jim Harbaugh said when he left the 49ers. He quoted, "I didn't leave them. I felt like the 49er hierarchy left me." So at the end of his career with the 49ers, he was still – it wasn't like it was results why he left.
Right.
He's still probably one of the best coaches in the NFL. If he would have stayed, he would be up there right now with his brother. So I definitely think that he has all the juice. Like you said, he is corny, but he has all the juice to be a really good coach. He has, in my mind, a top 5 quarterback. Now, does it show? Not really. I mean, he might be overrated, Justin Herbert, but I think he's really good. And I just think that he brings that winning culture. He's bringing back, let's run the ball first, and I think they could be successful.
Yeah, agreed.
Next up, we got Jared Mayo from the Patriots. This one's hard for me to swallow because they didn't do the normal interview process. When they signed Jared Mayo as an assistant coach, whatever, back in the day, in his contract, they had him being the next successor.
Yeah.
So will I say this is the right hire? I don't know, because they didn't interview nobody else.
Yeah, if Drake May ends up being the guy, it's the right hire. That's kind of how this works out.
Yeah.
If you get a franchise quarterback and they play well, then yeah, he's the right hire because they'll play well. But he's got the most to prove. It's just the more you look into the Patriots, the more of a shit show it kind of is. Like there's just nothing that went right, and it seems like the coaching staff lost a lot of juice after Brady left. Like everything kind of just fell by the wayside. They had that one good year with Mac Jones, and then their defense got bad. Their offense has been bad. I don't know. I think they have a lot of things to fix, and I think they got a ways to go.
Yeah, and especially for a first-time coach, unexperienced. I mean, he has no head coaching experience and no real actually coaching experience.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard, but never know.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Raheem Morris and Dan Quinn. Who would you rather out of these two?
Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn. He went to Super Bowl, and Raheem Morris's first stint with the Bucs was terrible. Yeah. I think it's a totally different coach, though. I'll give Raheem that. I think he's different. I feel like he learned a lot of the Rams. I feel like once you kind of get into that winning culture, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Once you kind of feel what it takes to win and how you win, it kind of changes you a little bit. I think he got a taste of that in Los Angeles. I hope he doesn't bring that to the Falcons, but we'll see. I wasn't huge on the hire. I don't know. If he's the right guy, he's the right guy. I wasn't big on it. I think if Bill Belichick is sitting there, I think if you're in a win now mode like the Falcons are, just why don't you take a guy who wins? Yeah. But I wasn't crazy about him. I like Dan Quinn. I think he's a good delegator. He's been to the big game. They had a decent offense. Obviously, he had Shanahan as his OC. You had brought that up to me, but I think they have a chance to kind of build here. Now they are in a tough division, so that doesn't bode well for him. But we'll see. He's got a really athletic, good quarterback. I like the Kingsbury hire, like we talked about, and the Commanders are kind of a hot topic on our list of stuff to talk about, to be quite honest.
So it's just because there's a lot of turnaround. I mean, fired their the owner. They got rid of the owner.
Yep.
They got a new coach, new quarterback. It's basically all new, and it's exciting new. I mean, I feel like a lot of the things they brought in can be successful.
Oh, for sure.
My only comment on both these coaches are, and this comes from growing up, we never, as Sean Payton fans, we had Sean Payton our whole life, so it was never about the Saints. But coming from a Pelicans background, the one thing I hate about new coaches, I am not a believer in recycled coaches. If a coach was not good, why does people think he's going to end up being phenomenal? I just don't see it. I see all these new coaches bringing new juice, new ideas to these new teams, and it's showing. All these new coaches are what's the hot topic right now. So why are some of these teams still hiring old recycled coaches? I don't understand. Yeah, and that's what blows my mind about coaches is I just hate recycled old coaches.
It's the year of second chances this year. There's a lot of coaches getting a second run at it. The Morris one I get, I think he was at the time he was hired for the Bucks. I want to say he was the youngest coach maybe of all time, or maybe like second behind Tomlin, something like that. That to me makes a little sense of, hey, let's give him another shot. Why a team in the division did that, I don't know. Dan Quinn
before
has had so much success. I mean,
before Morris left the Falcons, he was expected to be the coach. Morris was with the Falcons, was expected to be the head coach, and then they signed Arthur Smith, and Morris left for the Rams. So I don't know what happened there, but in Morris's interview, he said he didn't really take that personally. He said he actually was excited about it because he learned from what he learned from Sean McVay.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. The only other point I'll make too is I know you're kind of hinting at Dennis Allen, who's never had success anywhere he's went. That's kind of the difference with Dennis Allen and the guys that were hired this go around is Dan Quinn. He wasn't the head coach in Seattle, but he had a lot of success. The Falcons, he really did have success until the end. The wheels kind of fell off. And then he went to the Cowboys and became their defense was one of the best in the league for years. So I get the second chance for those guys. I do agree with you. I don't get the second chance for a guy who's never won more than like 5 games in his career. But yeah, I agree. It's a want for new blood. So I get that.
So, final topic of the day. Let's talk about teams who we think improves the most after this NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean, my number one was the Steelers. They, again, it's another one of those teams that just had a glaring need. And it's like every time their pick came up, there was just an O-line. There's an O-lineman that they couldn't pass on. So they took it. I like that a lot, especially with as much as Wilson struggled in Denver, they not being able to block for him. I think it's a great pick, and if it ends up being Fields, it's a great pick too.
So I want to talk about the Colts. They probably had my favorite draft class of this season. I think with their second, third, fourth, fifth picks, they went straight offense. Getting Mitchell in the second round was a steal in my eyes. Then they go and get a tackle and a center and another receiver, all to help Anthony Richardson for what he did when he played last year. Now, yes, Richardson has some concerns of health concerns, but still, you got to assume he has raw talent, very good raw talent. It showed whenever he played.
Right.
So adding these pieces can only help them. And that's not even talking about their number one pick, Latu. Latu was by far probably the most athletic pass rusher of the draft. He just was. People were scared of him because of his neck or back issue, whatever it was. They were just saying one hit he could be done for his career. So
yeah, that's anybody though. I mean, we talk about Michael Penix's like knees. I mean, one hit to Derek Carr's knees and he can be done.
Yep. I mean, look at Joe Burrow. I feel like he's been hurt the past 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody could get hurt and it'd be whatever. Who you got? Who else you have that you liked?
I mean, we talked about the Chiefs already. I had them. I think they just added a lot more. My other big one was the Lions. I'm a big Lions fan, as per my fantasy team last year. I drafted their whole offense. They obviously sucked on defense. They couldn't guard anyone. Their DBs were terrible, and they go out and they get 2 really good DBs. I think Ennis Rakestraw was a guy that kind of flew under the radar. I know a lot of people were talking about how much they liked him coming out of Missouri, and then they go and trade up and get Terry and Arnold. So I think they filled a huge need, and they brought a lot of guys back, if not every guy back. So they got better where they needed to get better, and we'll see if they can just repeat what they did on offense. But defensively, they made a huge jump.
So we just talked about him with the Jim Harbaugh signing, but I love what they did in the draft. Obviously, adding Joe Alt will be fantastic. I mean, you're getting if he's as good as he's advertised, he's possibly will be one of the best left tackles or right tackle, whatever he plays, one of the best tackles in the NFL, and you're getting him to protect your franchise quarterback in his prime. That's ideal. Then you go and get Ladd McConkey, who I think very underrated skill set because he's more of that possession guy, but he's way more athletic than people give him.
He's bigger too. I think Julian Edelman said that is they compared him to Julian Edelman and what he was like, yeah, but he's just bigger than me.
Yeah.
So
people like you, that's perfect. I was thinking of somebody to compare him to. And Julian Edelman is what people think a possession guy is. Literally just running a 4-yard curl and you're done.
Because he's white. Let's just say it.
Ladd McConkey is more like a Keenan Allen.
Yeah, he's a big dude. He's a bigger dude than
he's
an
an athlete. And then you go and then Harbaugh gets his linebacker from Michigan in Colson. I mean, that could be a great pick for a Los Angeles defense that has to play Patrick Mahomes twice a year.
Yeah.
And then they also got, I can't even say his last name, Ebogbie from Maryland, who
it's a nice last name.
Were saying was a 2nd-round pick, and he dropped to the 4th.
Yeah.
So I just think that they got 2 really good offensive guys to help Herbert and this new offense, but also solidified 2, if not starters, on the defensive side.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look, Jim Harbaugh knows himself, and he drafted like Jim Harbaugh.
Yep. So that's our top 5 topics for this season. Please hit that like, subscribe button. See y'all next time. Today I got